Ladies and gentlemen, Pronogo bringing you some more Cosmonarchy. We've got Neblime taking on the Shambler, Protoss versus Terran on Blackwater Bastion. I hope you guys are excited for this matchup here. It does seem like we have the Shambler as the red Terran in the top left, and Neblime as the, Zephyr Protoss in the bottom left? Ultramarine. You know, I thought it was Ultramarine at first, but then it looked a little too blue. Too deep, and all that stuff. So anyway, while we wait for our build orders to make themselves known, it's time to tell you about coffee. Yes, that lovely beverage that many of us imbibe on a daily basis is also something that you can donate. Not the coffee itself, just your money, but we will then use it to buy things such as coffee. And in fact, I will have a sip right now. As you can see, there's plenty of typing between all of these players. You know, one of the things that never ceases to impress me, or I guess to like feel good as a game designer, is the fact that one of the things that we have access to here is an active player base. Yeah, sure, it might be a small player base, but it's active. And that activity includes a lot of theory crafting, a lot of back and forth about this thing and that thing. And overall, the practice games that get played, it's hundreds of hours, thousands of hours of playtime between players and overall across the world, really. I mean, we're talking about an Aussie and a Texan here in this game being cast by some dude from Massachusetts. And I feel like that's really cool. I mean, obviously, Veek7, my homie from Poland, helps me make the game. Many other people contribute. You got, I think, Jesse's from Seattle. He's been working on CrowdLink, obviously, lately, as a nice little way for us to connect to each other for games in a much more performant way than Radman was, and then all of those other situations as well. Okay, Shambler's trying to see what he can do to look for psychological advantages in his forthcoming match against Hit 'em Up. So that's another thing, is that this could technically be tourney prep. If Hit 'em Up ends up getting Protoss, then Shambler will have some versus Protoss experience, as he has scouted incorrectly this game. The Drakiden will meet him. He was on attack move. That's not exactly what he wanted to see, and his reaction time a bit too slow to just skate on past it and potentially deny the Nexus, which actually Neblime is a little bit late with, considering he's dancing with the mine there, but it does go down in a fairly timely manner. Second Scrapyard already en route, and this Scribe, I mean, at this point, he knows where his opponent is. Both players know where their opponents are, but they don't know what they're building. I wonder how many games they'd played in the lead up to this match. I'll see if I can get any additional background information on this match here. Sometimes I like to know what's going on here. Yeah, no, there's not really anything that was submitted about like what happened before in the lead up to, as far as this match is concerned. But we do have a couple of Drakidens that are moving their way up, moseying their way up to that giant mushroom to imbibe it as well. I guess it's like fungus are not plants, right? But it's almost like plants talking to plants. And if you're not aware, Protoss technically have the benefit of channeling that sunlight into energy. They are solar powered, and that is very much like a plant. Now I'm going to walk over here with his Scribe. Don't be fooled by the 400 minerals. He's not dropping another Nexus. He's just going to be watching for drops, as he's already isolated the fact that there's no immediate apparent expansion. But we can see here that the Shambler has dropped his Ministry on the high ground. Pretty standard stuff there. Neblime will not be surprised to see that. And whilst he awaits to saturate his natural here, what is his next tech going to be? He's actually going Rogue Gallery. Interesting choice. Obviously, we are all aware of the Shambler's typical style when it comes to Terran versus Zerg, but versus Protoss, I really haven't seen him play that much. Admittedly, I think the only active Protoss is Arbuz plays, a couple times a week. Obviously, Neblime grinding out games, so if it's not against one of those two players, he's probably not practicing against Protoss at all. That being said, Ayud64 and Top Ramen have been playing some TVTs lately, and well, they're going to be playing one in the tournament later on as well. Hamster, poor Hamster. I don't know if he's found any Protoss practice that isn't actually playing against Neblime to begin with. there goes that last mine on the map. That will be a fully dark Blackwater Bastion map for the Shambler to contend with. And he is switching off of his mech-exclusive focus into a Covenant-based army here with the Eidolons. We saw him earlier deride the Shaman, or not the Shaman, the Savant, not interested in pulling that unit out versus Protoss. I do think there's some limited play you could probably make happen with it when it comes to the stuffing a couple of them on Power Siphon into anchors. They obviously are able to hold some very, very potent positions there. But in the combat environment on this version of the game, they are definitely a little bit underutilized, and perhaps appropriately utilized, I guess, but under strength would be the answer there. Cliff advantage helping Shambler out versus the Dracodons as he attempts to hold his ground. He does have a couple of idle workers, but his Antseal is out now, so he should be more than equipped with the necessary tools to finish the job. He's actually got a couple of Eidolons and Watchdogs off to the side here. I feel like at this point, Neblime has probably traumatized the Shambler with a number of Cantor drops, and maybe they've actually been reposted and withheld, in which case I guess you wouldn't say traumatized, just conditioned, right? It would be a more neutral term for that. It's like, hey, I go for this tool often. I use this idea very often. Am I doing it again? We've got a couple of Vagrants coming out of these rogue galleries as a little bit of chaff. When it comes to an engagement, the Vagrants can be quite useful because when they take fatal damage, they actually turn into a much faster version of themselves that also will take self-damage. So their perpetually dwindling life is eventually going to be taken care of. That's a pylon pretty far forward, as well as, back home, an Ardent Authority. The significance of this being that that is indeed the structure where a Cantors come from. So if we're going to see the Cosmonarchy equivalent of a Reaver drop, it would come pretty shortly after that structure finishes. As you can see, that pylon just absorbing a little bit of the Shambler's move-out mojo. The Antseals still keeping their energy pretty up there for the purposes of shielding. These Blackjacks will go dark, and when they are dark, they shoot shoot slower and move slower. And that is definitely a key weakness here, as Shambler does not have any healing, but he's immediately going to be going for a third Ministry. He's taken a look at what Neblime has as far as these Dracodons are concerned, and he realizes, okay, I'm probably not going to be able to push out into this army and crack, so I'm just going to go for the Ministry and see if I can't wield some kind of response to what I'm seeing here. Now, when you see this many Eidolons as Neblime, I do think that one of the things you're going to be thinking about is how do I get up to some kind of detection army that can deal with this? And really, it's going to be Mass Ardent Authority. He's going to go for the Architects. That makes a lot of sense to me as far as a ground and pound army is concerned. His scribe up here in the top right was from the Worker Scout from way back. He never bothered returning it home, and it looks like he might be establishing that as a potential third base. He does have a scribe hanging out at 6 o'clock, however, so he's got them at 6 and 9 as well as the top right. So realistically speaking, he could have his pick of the litter. It will be 6 o'clock for his next expansion, but don't be surprised if top right ends up being taken as well. Largely depends on what Shambler's move out is going to look like. It's just Dracodons right now. Sure, they might be able to snipe an Antseal or something, but for the most part right now, this is looking like a pretty big death ball of mech units. So those Architects are going to need to be brought out pretty soon. You can see Antseals can't be everywhere at once, so some of the Blackjacks do get hemorrhaged off to the side. This does read to me like Neblime will mass up his Vagrants, his Zealots, and of course his Architects, and see if he can't engage onto the Eidolon ball. So the way cloaking works in Cosmonarchy, it's permanent at no cost, right? And so what you see with Eidolons is you're going to be looking at getting close to them to decloak them. The same happens with Wraiths and Sundogs, both of which are air units for Terran. The Terran cloaking is proximity cloaking. So when you get within 3 range of them, they will decloak. You can think of that as the range of an Izira core, but if you don't know what that is because you're not a Cosmonarchy player, then, well, I'm trying to think about what has 3 range by default in StarCraft 1. I don't know. I guess it's like a little bit extra on the Hurakan, the Firebat's max attack range or whatever, if you visualize how far the flamethrower goes. Kind of like that. You got to be pretty close to them. And so as these Dracodons are going to take a stab up to the 12 o'clock, or I guess up north in general, they thought maybe about posturing aggressively. It looks like they might be able to get away with an Antseal pick. That doesn't end up being too consequential resource-wise. It's not cost-efficient. But Shambler's taking his foot off the gas when it comes to pedaling out those Antseals, so this actually feels like a pretty good move there. He's also hemorrhaging a couple of Eidolons. We just saw a little bit of that decloaking happening when you get close enough to them, right? So you don't explicitly need detection for Neblime here, but as he gets a longer range army online with those Architects, that artillery is going to be benefiting from seeing the enemy targets, right? And so otherwise they're just going to melt through all the blackjacks at first. But hey, as long as you got some ground units to make it through, or you dive forward with some of the Drakidins or something, that works out as well. Interesting choices here. Stockades to help seal little bits of the wall so that the Shambler can frustrate the attack path of his opponent. His third base is up and running. It has to be said that I think Shambler actually has a little bit of economic tempo here. He's kept up on the worker count versus Neblime, and he's just been steadily pumping the workers, steadily saturating. He hasn't necessarily been using the workers all the time. You know, there's been many times we've seen many idle workers in his bases, but he's putting Vestry down over here at the choke. Okay. You know, overall, it kind of makes sense for what he's doing. He's just going to have all of these production structures there, doubling as expanding his production, but mostly serving as a wall. These couple Eidolons are indeed going to get got. That'll be it for them. But as he comes in here and blows up this ministry, just to further allow his movement through the map, he is going to isolate the last of these Drakidins. Remember, the big force over here doesn't really have that many in the form of the Striders. The Protoss Striders are pretty effective overall, and they definitely have a lot of HP. But Shambler's out on the map right now. He does have some reinforcements over here. I love the anchor position. I would love a lodestone as well. He's setting up a nice defensive ring of watchdogs. And, you know, as he comes in a little bit closer, you know, yeah, at that point, you got the Eidolons in the anchor. You are good to go, my man. At some point, we will fix this. I don't know why that happens. Well, I have a hunch, but I don't know how to fix it exactly. Basically, we've significantly improved the update rate of orders and stuff, so units move a lot more responsively, but that means that if they are stuck and can't find a destination, let's just say that they will aggressively make it known that they are stuck, and that does look pretty goofy. But unfortunately, not an easy fix. Now, that being said, top right is being taken by Neblime. That is going to be another main base as he's attempting to take a more conventional fourth base. In fact, this is kind of an unconventional base to be taking overall. So as your third, but it's definitely going to work out for him. Now, Shambler's still threatening with his ball of units. If Neblime decides to make this magic happen over here, it will be a little bit costly. You can see the charlatans trying to frontline there. Most of them are being taken care of. But overall, the Architects are going to be the main winners here. A couple of Vagrants do end up going down as well. That is going to cause a bit of a cancel for the Shambler's forces. They are going to reunite themselves at around the third base for that top right spawn. We'll see if maybe the Anciel ends up scouting that main. But already we've got an engram coming on the by the ramp there to the low ground. And of course a Zealot watching 12 o'clock. So Neblime keeping apprised of what his opponent's moves are going to be. He is starting to make Acantors. Acantors are very good versus the Bioballs when Hurricans start to make it in. But when Blackjack Eidolon is the name of the game, I feel like the Terran army just kind of shoots the Acantor down. Maybe 1 or 2 shots will get off per Acantor. Maybe that's still enough to make them cost efficient. That treasury did get made at some point. I'm trying to figure out where exactly it went. It looks like, okay, it's been positioned at 9 o'clock. That's going to get blocked pretty quick. A couple Mavericks starting to get made. Would love to see Shambler use those stockades for Hurricans. We haven't really been paying too close attention to Shambler's money this whole time, but he did have a lot of minerals there. Definitely could have afforded a couple extra Hurricans, but instead he goes for his Atlas, and he has spent down his money. He's going to clear 12 o'clock of that Zealot, and now position most of his army to accept Neblime. He has the cliff advantage, +2 weapon range shooting down the cliff, but Neblime's already starting to connect over here, and yet you can see the power of the Architects versus what the Terran has. Sure, the Blackjacks do pretty good DPS, but they've got to chew through the Vagrants, and then chew through the Vagrants again, and also chew through some Drakidins. So it's just a lot on their plate, and they are perhaps a little bit picky when it comes to what they eat. At least when it comes to this kind of composition here. Now, Neblime might be getting concaved on a little bit. I do like the position of Shambler's Eidolons. That being said, they still need the firepower and consistent DPS to chew through the Vagrants. You can see the Vagrants get close enough, decloak those Eidolons, and there go the Architect missiles splitting at maximum range. Definitely going to be benefiting Neblime. But as his frontline falls, this is kind of like what we see all the time in Starcraft 1. When your Zealots die, you pull the Dragoons back. That's kind of what we're seeing here. But the Acantor is here as well. Instantaneously focused down, but not before it claims so many Blackjacks in the process. And yeah, as the frontline comes in with the Vagrants and the Warden finishes on the high ground, why not throw that down when you have the opportunity to? There's still a lot of Architects here, 6 of them. And right now, Shambler's trying to use the Ancials to hold on to them. It feels like he hasn't focus fired individual targets very nicely, and as a result, this is going to be a bit more costly for him than it should be. But Neblime has chosen to take the stand, and he will be hoisted by that petard, fallen almost immediately. Unfortunate there for Neblime's forces, because now Shambler has finally earned himself a 4th base. That being said, we are up a base for Neblime. He's been establishing a very thriving colony and starting to add some production over to that top right position. I'm looking around for any other tech. Of course, tier 2 is done for the Shambler, but he's got 1,500 minerals. He definitely needs to figure out how to spend those. Captaincies are pretty mineral heavy, shall we say. I believe they're just 300 minerals, so definitely worth dropping a few of those. We know Shambler is a fan of the Apostle, and you can't really get access to that until you drop those captaincies. So as he starts to saturate his newly acquired 4th base, his ministry's floated to 12 o'clock. He's going to be floating to the natural of top right, and maybe as a result, there'll be a little bit of a sharing position there. There is an engram up and running. It will soften up the Anceel shields quite a bit, but as of right now, I'm looking at the fallen engram. I'm looking at the architects on the high ground as well as on the low. What does Shambler decide to focus on? He's bypassed Neblime's army, but at this point, it might have lured him in because the noose is tightening around Shambler's force. He does have more units back at home. He definitely has a numbers advantage over what Neblime has. But if I'm in his shoes, I'm going to try to evacuate these Eidolons instead. He stands his ground and tries to focus down those architects. And you know what? If a little bit more focus fire went that way, I think that last architect would indeed have fallen. But as of right now, he's got a lot of idle masons that he should probably be sending over there. He's hovering the anchor full of Eidolons over to that 9 o'clock position. He hasn't landed the natural. He hasn't saturated 12, so we're going to have to wait and see on that. Stargates are being added for Neblime, on the other hand, and he is also producing a Crucible to empower all of the production on this screen here. So he is about to start slamming units out like crazy. He really is going to need some extra economy to afford all of that. Crucible does enchant the production time of units or of structures around the Crucible. So as it finishes, you're going to see that aura kick in, the white glow on the units. They will start to train units much faster. It is out of range of the Stargates, which might be a little bit regrettable. If Neblime wants to go for like a Gladius Doomstack or something, he might need to drop another Crucible. And it's also a one and done thing. It doesn't stack, so you can't put more than one Crucible on there. There was a time where you could, not any longer. Making Caballists out of this rogue gallery, I don't hate it. I mean, you think about StarCraft 1, if you're aficionado of that game, in PvT, sometimes the Protoss will just go for Dark Templar for the purposes of straining the comsats and maybe the science vessel positioning of the Terran. Now in Cosmonarchy, it's a little bit different. They do decloak themselves, but they have such incredible DPS when it comes to their on-hand attack. So they can still be very, very good at worker infiltrations and such. We see here that 12 o'clock is starting to collapse for the Shambler, as his Eidolons will soon be pressured by units coming in from the south. But another force of Shamblers intercepts any other reinforcements from Neblime, and now we are going to see the Protoss start to consider falling back. That Ministry never got landed, or lifted rather, and so that is going to allow the Architects to contribute towards the DPS. That being said, most of that siege is down here on the south, and this is a little bit awkward for Neblime, because now he's basically just got a couple of tier 1.5 units up here. Surely they're powerful, but they are going to get gunned down pretty easily with almost impunity, it must be said. Now, in that time, Neblime has set up bottom right, so still a good distraction because he's net up a base, right? He's actually, I guess, net up 2, right? You would say this base was destroyed and another base was set up in that time for Neblime. So we went from 4 bases with a 5th on the way to, you know, what is this? 5 bases with the 6th on the way, right? And now that's starting to mine, it's already paying back. This Ministry, which never landed at the natural in top right, is just going to move on and reclaim that 5th base for Shambler. Terran Army still looking okay, but I'm still waiting to see where the tier 2 tech actually is being leveraged. There's a couple of Shamans. A single Apostle is all that tier 2 is actually involving on the field so far. I am seeing an embassy be made next to this Crucible. I guess he's going to have to rescue some of his Dracodons with it. That's kind of funny. Embassy makes the Envoy, which used to be called the Shuttle. All right, so as of right now, Shambler are going to be going for a bottom right punch. He's got a very good concave in this position. He can start to reclaim some of the Protoss forces with the Apostles. And where is the splash damage? Mostly it's going to be coming from the Acantor. Some good connection so far with it as it scores a few kills. But now the front line is starting to kick in there. And again, stealing the Architects, giving up that position, that's very, very difficult right now for Mr. Neblime to deal with. Now, obviously, that first couple shots, that Acantor was money in that position. No Crucible over here does mean that it's going to be a little bit difficult for Neblime's engram to really get anything done. He is going to need to reinforce this position. He's got a ball of units over there that's not moving any further forward. And now, look at this. Shambler swinging the base count back in his favor, at least nominally. We are at 5 bases for both players as soon as this 12 o'clock gets saturated. And Neblime did, rescue most of the workers. This is 100% a game where if Shambler had grabbed oh, look at this, the Kabbalist infiltration. If Shambler had grabbed a group of scribes or something, he absolutely 100% would have gone a little bit deeper. Now, okay, here we go. Maybe a little bit of a mistake here for Neblime to pull the trigger on this attack. I think his units might have just timed out there trying to move past the anchor. But now this is just going to be a bit of a headache for Shambler, who has no detection anywhere. No lodestones, nothing at all. He's going to end up wandering into a shore demise, and it looks like he's going to pivot his way over to the 9 o'clock, which is very heavily reinforced. I don't think that the Kabbalists are going to get too much there. They will stop some worker reinforcements from coming in there. The way that the Kabbalist works is that it has combat cloaking, unlike the Eidolon, which has proximity cloaking, right? And when they are cloaked, they will teleport to the next target. So that ends up being pretty cool. A land effect has gone down by the Eidolons and the single possessed architect here. Actually, there's 3 of them with this forest. That is going to make it a bit difficult to engage. Terran doesn't have a good unit that's kind of like the architect, right? Their phalanxes have to deploy. Their Eidolons have less range and are a lot more fragile. So the Terran is happy to have this. He's going to go ahead and descend upon Neblime's army with pretty much everything he has. As of right now, the economy's dead even, and Argosy on the way. Here comes Disruption Field to disable those architects and cut them short, chasing down after the land effects as well to ball on top of them. But this is the big money maker here for Shambler, and I don't think Neblime has enough to deal with this. In fact, he is going to end up losing his land effects without them really being able to contribute too much. Another round is going to come on in to see if this top spoke can get stabbed in, but look at the Nexus, kind of getting focused down, kind of not. Shambler maybe split between 2 realities here, as indeed the architect flank from multiple sides is going to wipe this force. Shambler was back home macroing, it looks like, but he will end up killing that Nexus. So another base destroyed. Can Neblime fight back and counter the push? If he can kill 9 o'clock, or maybe move up here and deny 12, that would be a very key scalp to take. But as you can see, the Eidolon anchors, the Sentinels, plenty of attack range there, courtesy of those positions. Many more Apostles as well. Okay, so Shambler's really... He's got his ball going. He doesn't really have Anciel count very high. He doesn't really have a high Shaman count. So his sustain in the fight is entirely based around the Apostles, which, as you saw, there weren't really that many Apostles in that fight. And as long as Neblime had something on the front line to occupy the Eidolons, it was pretty easy for him to eventually win that engagement. Now, he does have an Argosy out. He is making a Solarian. I'm not sure about the advisability of that. I guess the one thing you can say about the Solarian is that if you get enough of them, they will overwhelm static defense. But I'm not even sure if that's true with the Eidolons garrisoning these anchors. Like 4 out of 5 of them have full strength garrisons. Captaincy being dropped at the 12 o'clock. Might be mistaken for a ministry. It has the same in-progress graphic. And look at this. Shambler stabbing forward. He will end up seeing the position that Neblime's army is taking. Will he decide to tighten the noose around it? Looks like that's indeed what his goal is going to be. And now, with the Kabbalists raining in from that top right base, Neblime is going to be able to deal with the mineral line of the Shambler's 12 o'clock. But in exchange, he is losing every architect that he owns. Oh, it looks like maybe this was canceled, actually, and Shambler is going to just go for the jugular. There's a bunch of Acantors over here, but not really anything else to speak of as far as static defense is concerned, and certainly not much that can do much. Oh boy, hold on, hold that thought. We've got the Acantors reigning supreme over here, courtesy of the Charlatans. We just need a couple more hits, and there you go. Okay, it looks like the Acantor interaction, we narrowly missed out on having the Charlatan Acantor interaction there. But hey, maybe it can happen for Shambler since he's just possessed those fallen units. Oh, watch out. Neblime, don't give him a scribe. He's going to start building stuff. Oh, boy. Well, the Solarian hasn't revealed itself yet. There we go, starting to send those stewards out. But again, those will get focused down by this many Eidolons, right? This is looking like a very big death ball here for the Shambler. Has there been enough time for Neblime to build up a responsible, answer to this? Like, I'm not really sure whether his sort of disjointed composition of miscellaneous units is going to be able to get it done. But I love the Acantors versus this composition. He just needs a good number of them. And you know what? His units straggling in from the north are definitely tightening that noose around Shambler's army. What he just did to Neblime's forces at 12 is starting to happen to him. He never finished the job with those architects, and there's still those Lusa Cantors that were staffing this position over here. Now that the Wardens are up, that's going to slow the reinforcements from coming in from the main, and Shambler may end up losing this army. He hasn't really had an answer to the Exemplars, and the Solarians are still alive as well. Now, okay, as the stewards are drawing them back and kind of confusing the Eidolons in that position, they are finally trying to focus down the Exemplar, which do deal splash damage. So that is a big couple of scalps to take there. However, the Cantor count is so enormous now. And sure, that third base ends up going down, but in that time, 3 o'clock is up and running. These two bases are fully saturated in mining. We're going to see maybe that natural be taken at some point by Neblime in the bottom right. And we've got multiple Solarians, a ridiculous host of Cantors. Like, this is going to be the hardest game of dodgeball Shambler has played in his whole damn life. And I assume they play that in Texas. Now, we do have to take a chill pill on the Protoss sort of happiness that we might be seeing here. Because as of right now, we're seeing a couple of hemorrhaged Cantors here and there. We are seeing this force get heckled down a little bit. These Solarians are going to need to tuck tail and run, and the Heracles slowing them down. That's going to allow a kill secure onto that Solarian. See how much faster that other one went. Now, but again, look at this ball of Cantors. How can you even step to this? Shambler's going to have to fall back from that. The answer to Terran death balls has potentially been here all along, courtesy of Iquare. Couple more shots going wide. Remember, all the Apostles are kind of balled up over in that one spot, and Shambler, with a bit of a whiff on his positioning, ends up dropping that one. So many metal slugs, and none of them fallen just yet. Depleted bases galore, right? We're looking at depletion kicking in for every single base that Shambler has. He's running out of steam. He's got 1,600 minerals in the bank, so he can absolutely expand at 12 o'clock. But he never reset this up. That's another, I think, big thing that you have to point in Neblime's favor. This base is still mineable, so he should definitely try to set that up as soon as possible. He's already starting to resaturate his natural, which is admittedly depleted. And look at this. This base is also taken care of. These units, if they don't turn around and fall away from the engrams, which it doesn't look like they are, okay, one Blackjack, reclaimed as it is, will be moving over there, and the ball of Terran units that still exist, including a couple of reclaimed architects that never quite ended up falling, is now moving down to the bottom right. And look at this. The Blackjack has fallen again. Unbelievable. So at this point, Shambler's putting the pieces together. Top right and bottom right have been taken this whole time. A single Kabbalist is slowly whittling through the Masons in this position. Now, he almost got bopped himself, but this is absolutely going to be difficult for Shambler to take without some kind of military investment. Vulture's got plenty of mines, but no matter there. And now, sure, the Scribes can just evacuate. Yeah, this base, it would have been nice to have. I guess nothing must have come from the Scribe from Shambler, right? He did take a Scribe at one point, but he never really used it for anything. He's going to go ahead and muscle through the Kabbalists over in this position. You see it just teleported off to the screen and then immediately died. Now, trying to take this position, I mean, there's not really that many units here. No, like, a Grand Library to make a Cantavis would have been super clutch in this spot. Would have definitely stopped this from happening here. But as Shambler pushes up the ramp with his Reclaimers, he is going to go ahead and clear the deck over there. And what does Neblime have in response, right? Shambler still has a lot of minerals, but he's not mining from any active bases. It's all depleted bases for him. So his yields are going to be very, very low. Now, this bottom right base was depleted before Shambler could actually come to it. So I think that's also very significant, right? Plenty of static defense erected at the 3 o'clock. Top right is depleted as well, or nearing it. At some point, sure, that you expect that natural to come in. A Daedala has been started by the Shambler. He is going to tier 3, but he has no minerals left. I guess maybe he doesn't need it as much in tier 3. A lot of it is gas heavy. And look at this. He has secured plenty of Scribes. Is he going to do something with them? That's the question. Yes, he drops a Nexus. He will start to use Protoss technology. So one key detail is when you reclaim a unit, it has that green overlay. It moves slower than it would normally, and it will regenerate a little bit of health when out of combat. So it's sort of like zombie regeneration, a little bit zombified healing, you can think of it as. So the slow moving is pretty significant. It means that the reclaimed workers are never going to be as good as your own workers, right? And then when it comes to any units that they make, that applies there as well. So if he makes Zealots, the Zealots will move slower than Neblime Zealots, right? This ball of bio units up top of this cliff, it looks like they will be overwhelmed by Neblime's force, but there's reinforcements coming in from the other side. And yeah, actually, Neblime's just slated to lose his entire army that he sent up over here without even denying the ministry. One of the few times Neblime has charged up and tried to finish things in a base and traded an army without actually successfully heckling the economy of Shambler or even slowing it down at all. This base harvesting, so very important for Shambler. He might have way more workers than his opponent, but at this point, that doesn't even matter that much. A Monument of Sin begins in the top right. Shambler is surely aware of this base. He's already stabbed out and destroyed the bottom right. Solarians are massing up over here. I mean, this might kill our dreams of Reclaimed Protoss activating. A Reclaimed Nexus is online. So, you know, we saw things in this game. We saw things. 6 o'clock reestablished. It's almost depleted. Not going to be too useful there. Forward pylon is destroyed. Back pylon still powering everything over here. And that is going to slow the assault a little bit. But yeah, that Monument of Sin was canceled in that position. Neblime knew, oh shit, I can't build it there. All right, top right is going to be canceled. We've got an engram and a matrix. I'm looking around for any other tech that Neblime has. I liked the idea of getting a, like, you could imagine getting a Sovereign over here or something with some escort, but no, instead it looks like the Solarians are going to try their best. There's going to be 6 of them over here. In theory, they should be able to overwhelm some of these positions. You can see the Eidolons are a little bit strong on that side. Might need like a Clarion or something over here. More Reclaimed Scribes. Maybe he'll set up another Nexus. You never know. Oh, look at this. Neblime going to stab in with a couple of units before the Wardens get set up. Sees that there's a Reclaimed Protoss farm happening over here, and he says, I will not tolerate this. That being said, he might not have a choice with these Wardens finishing. Well, the battle workers might help out a little bit. Now, just because something that's reclaimed, you know, moves slower does not mean that it doesn't also, you know, attack slower, right? Okay, Monument of Sin is here. Monument of Sin is in the bottom right. Yeah, this Warden ends up definitely slowing this down a lot. But hey, the Architects are also causing trouble. It looks to me like the Monument of Sin isn't going to be enchanted by the Crucible is one problem. The Arcases are also not empowered by it, right? So that feels a little bit bad for Neblime, who really needs these power units up as soon as possible. Monument of Sin itself does take a while. Now, look at this. Shambler has secured this economic advantage. He's got his 12 o'clock up and running. The only live bases now on the map are the Natural and the 3rd for the top right spawn and the 3rd for the bottom right spawn. I guess this Natural as well, right? So we've got 4 live bases. I mean, this base technically alive, but I'm assuming that Neblime will hold it for long enough. And I guess this base has like a couple hundred minerals right in the top right. So yeah, overall, all right, the Monument of Sin's done. What else are we going to get? Tier 3 technology is on the way for Shambler. I was looking around for where he was constructing it. He's got an Iron Foundry and an Nanite assembly coming at 12 o'clock. Okay. A couple of Cantors guarding the 6 o'clock position. Definitely an important base for Neblime to hold, but it is more or less depleted at this point. And one of Cantor is very bravely walking out into death. He still gets a Maverick. I mean, you really have to fire blindly to not get a Maverick. I can't believe that these Nexuses have just been abandoned by Shambler. He doesn't even want to bother trying to multi-race. A Star Sovereign is on the way. I repeat, a Star Sovereign is on the way. Endgame technology for Neblime. He does have a Didact. He could go for a Stasis here, but this is a very deadly force to try to peek into. Evacuating the Natural. It was depleted anyway. It wasn't contributing a crazy amount, but really at this point, it's not like Neblime has got a huge bank or anything. Double Didact move. He's just going to go for the desperate recall into this base, I suppose. You do have to watch out for that, because as soon as you start channeling recall, you will be forcibly decloaked. So if you're on top of, you know, static defense or the like, you will 100% just get bopped. Now, I don't think Shambler's seen this force. Another... Oh, no, you got to watch out for that. I was going to say the Ant Seals absolutely could have just ruined Neblime's day there. I feel like this is the last investment he really has to go for a move of any kind. The one witness detecting over here. A Lodestone as well for detection. I actually don't know if Neblime can do anything with this force. Let's see. It doesn't look like Shambler wants to commit into the push. This is a difficult force to beat, obviously, right? With the tech that he's got. He's inching around. I feel like that Lodestone is narrowly out of vision, right? 10 vision range on that bad boy. Absolute scenes as Neblime skirts the very perimeter of the map with an attempt to make it through. If only there was a Lodestone up here for detection, right? Then maybe there'd be something. It looks like instead he's going to recall on top of the production here. This is a significant stronghold of production for the Shambler, but this is not where his most expensive things are, right? And look, this is what I was talking about earlier. You start the recall. Oh, he starts the recall on the Star Sovereign, and he's just going to get that glassing going. You know, even despite that, right? Like, sure, these units are going to end up dying, but that was with 2 Watchdogs. If there was a 3rd Watchdog, I actually wonder if the Star Sovereign doesn't just straight up die. He's going for the recall. He's actually pulling the Star Sovereign in the middle of its cast to see if he can glass a few more things. The double Didact move to try to get the glassing. He's mobile glassing right now, boys. What is Shambler's reaction to this? He's got a Magnetar on the way. His units are scrambling for different positions. As he pulls this, the hopscotch. I've never seen something like this before. Now here comes the Yamato. Goes after the Didacts. Okay, that's going to be it for the Didacts. That one Yamato sealed the deal. Good thinking for the Shambler to target the one that was actively recalling. And it looks like the Star Sovereign is, it seems like it's permanently cloaked, so that's a bug. I mean, the data detects it, right? So, but yeah, maybe even the Lodestone. Yeah, it looks like, yeah, that's enough. He's got the detection there, so it doesn't end up... I was going to say, that would suck if it was, like, impossible to attack or something. But no, it looks like Shambler figured it out. He lifts his Daedalus. Very clutch move there to prevent it from burning down. And then he had the detection anyway, plus the Yamato from the Magnetar. I don't know. At this point, I really feel like with Shambler ascending to Tier 3 tech, put this in your screenshots folder, boys. What else are we realistically going to see Neblime manage? I mean, he did get a lot of distraction out from that, but he lost both of his Didacts. He's remaking a second one. He's got one already. And another Star Sovereign heading to this position over here. I guess he's going to try to, like, maybe glass at the outskirts of it. See if he can glass the bottom perimeter of the Watchdogs. Not a terrible decision. Not a terrible choice. Yeah, you can see. But, I mean, he's getting heckled a little bit. Is that even going to be far enough to reach anything? No, that's not far enough to reach anything. Now, I don't think the Star Sovereign will die to one anchor full of Eidolons, but that is a little bit rough, right? He's going to recall it. He's like, no, Neblime, what have you done? You just... I was gonna say, I hope he moved that fucking Didact, boys, because otherwise he just immolated himself. Holy shit. Well, I think Shambler's probably gonna go. He's probably gonna go and win now. I don't know. He was heckling the 6 o'clock in that time. He's killed a couple of units. Dude, what a game. What a match. This is taking me back, man. Okay, well, a second Star Sovereign is on the way. This one is a little bit below half HP and has brought the rest of the base a little bit below half HP, it looks like, as well as killed a number of the Cantors there. Now, the Death Fleet of Solarians is operational. There are 10 of them. Still, with this number of units, small arms fire, you think about the fully stacked Madcaps at some point, that can absolutely clear that. Oh, look at this. He spotted the Didacts. They're actually out of sync from each other, and they do end up going down. That might have been the move to seal the deal there. I mean, this base still happily mining. I feel like Shambler's probably going to feel a little bit silly for not clearing that sooner. And now the Solarians, I mean, we're talking about a set of fully charged Madcaps. We are talking about Apostles that really help counter the Bio's weakness to those Stewards. And there's not really much that can be done there, right? Iron Foundry's being added. We've got Penumbra on the way. I love them being in the middle of the map. This Death Fleet or Death Ball of like Tier 3 tech and stuff is actually not in the fight yet, which is pretty amusing. It's like Shambler wants to spend his time like whittling his opponent down before finally making the decision to move forward. He's got a Magnetar, a Minotaur, a couple Penumbra, you know, like this is exactly what we need. Next time somebody asks you what your bra size is, you tell them Penumbra. All right, I'll workshop that one. So we do have Shambler getting a little bit pushed back by these Solarians, but I think it's a matter of academics here. It's a numbers game right now, and sure, a bunch of vagrants are here, but do you want to reveal your Tier 3 tech now? Shambler, your Atlas that's in the middle of the map. At this point, it looks like maybe Shambler is allowing the sauce to be hit. A couple of Penumbra are going to help clear out all of the Stewards if they dare to get close to the late game mech. Plenty of additional units here and there, and the Magnetars are going to help pull the... Oh, never mind. They just go for a Yamato on the stacked Solarians. And we do have a couple of glassing units there, but it looks like the Didact, either it got recalled out or... I don't actually know what happened. It either got recalled out or it died to something, but I couldn't quite see. I'm guessing that it was recalled, but then I feel like so with the Star Sovereign, it looks like maybe a couple of Eidolons were still there and sniped it down. Going for another glass, not a bad shout there, right? And so as a result, a couple of that ground army does end up getting cleared out, but we have that other tier 3 mix coming in from the north, earmarked for the main base of Neblime, who has done his best to hold out forever. A Magnetar going for a Yamato. It even clears it narrowly before the Didact Stasis can lock it down, but that is not enough to break the engram. Star Sovereign arriving. But this one is the wounded one, and I feel like this one is not going to be able to stand to those Penumbra. Now, this one up top might be able to, especially if Shambler kind of pivots back and forth. Oh, he thinks it's immune, but it's just not. It's permacloak. You can see on the status. It's not invulnerable. So I don't know what that was. That was another case where the Didact died in the middle of the channel of the Star Sovereign or something. And yeah, if he brought detection over, he would see that. So that was funny. So just like we saw that bug over here in the top where it was cloaked. Yeah, same bug, but different visuals, I guess. Penumbra are going to go ahead and get tickled. I kind of needed that, LOL. Yeah, well, tell him to bring detection. Yeah, okay. So with the Penumbras coming in, I mean, I don't even think that would have made the difference. I think if Neblime takes a look at the replay here, he sees what we see. Top right natural's been taken, top right main's been taken. More and more tier 3 is being operational here. Expansion blocking everywhere else, you know. Neblime doesn't really have a lot going for him. He's barely got any money. He's pushing all of the units through. The epigraphs try their best. Their best is not even close to being enough. Yamato-ing and a Cantor. I mean, not a bad shout. Oh, look, he's pulling him through. Oh, the stasis on top of it all. I mean, it does block them from being damaged, but only for a short time, right? He's trying to pull him through. No, the Magnetar! It's erasing Shambler's army! Oh, it died, though. Oh, no! It's even worse. GG. As soon as that comes out, you know it's GG. All right, boys, that was a banger and a half. A 42 almost minute game. And sure, it might have included a couple of bugged, cloaked Star Sovereigns, but that's okay. What game doesn't have a couple of bugged, cloaked Star Sovereigns? You know, this is Cosmonarchy. This is what you should expect. That's the true super unit. Anyway, I hope you guys appreciated this cast. I sure did. Enjoy the game, that is. And yeah, as a reminder, you can donate to us if you like. The coffee link is in the bottom right and in our description box. Yeah, if you thought that was a good game, then you know what to do with your hard-earned dollary dues. All right, that's it for me, boys. GG.